Bond features. So a bond is like a loan. A company that sells a bond borrows money from whoever bought the bond from the company. Indenture means a written agreement between the company that borrowed money and bondholders who lent money, the creditors. This written agreement includes a lot of conditions and terms. Let's look at the most important ones. The most basic ones are terms of the bond. For example, what is the face value amount? Usually it's $1,000, but it could be something else, for example, $100,000. There are bonds like that. Then how many years are left to maturity? When, on which dates the coupons will be paid to the bondholders? What is the coupon rate? And so on. Security. Bonds are called secured if they have some sort of collateral, in case the company cannot meet its obligations and pay the coupon and the face value to the bondholder. So what could be a collateral? Maybe if the company cannot pay cash as coupon payments, it instead pays in stock shares. Or maybe it uses something else as a collateral, maybe some sort of accounts receivable. Unsecured bonds are also known as debentures. And this is basically what this whole chapter is on. We never talk about any sort of collateral. So it's more like unsecured bonds are like, just a promise from a company, from the company that sells the bonds, that it will make the required coupon payments and the face value at the very end. Technically, in this chapter, we call all the different types of bonds as bonds, but anything that has less than 2 years to maturity is also known as bills. 2 to 10 years to maturity is also called notes. And anything with longer than 10 years to maturity is just bonds. But all of this combined is also called bonds. Another thing that could be included in the indenture is the type of seniority on these bonds. Bonds are called senior bonds if they are older bonds. They have been issued way back when. So maybe a company issued bonds a few years ago and today decided to issue more. Those bonds that were issued a few years ago are senior bonds. Those that are about to be issued are junior bonds. So those investors who bought the senior bonds that were issued a few years ago, they have a preference in receiving payments over those investors who are going to be buying the junior bonds. So the junior bonds are basically more risky. They present more risk to those who buy them because there is a chance they will not receive their promised coupon payments in the face value, since they get the second priority. Repayment. So we have a company that sells bonds. We have investors who buy those bonds. There could be a third party, a sinking fund, like a third party between the company and the investors. The role of a sinking fund is the company will be making annual payments into this sinking fund. So it could be some sort of bank. And then this bank, this sinking fund, will use the money that will accumulate in it to, so to speak, retire part of the bonds. In other words, it will buy them back from the market, from the investors' hands. They're no longer circulating, among the investors. They're removed from the market. And this is called as calling bonds. And the point of that, so why would the firm want to use this kind of option to call the bonds? Because if there are fewer bonds in the market, then it's like the firm has less debt. So this may improve its credit score, which is good for all sorts of different things. These sinking funds may be used after several years. And some bonds have this provision of the possibility that they would be called sometime in the future.